listening to the Meadows and Makers podcast with Mason Stuff and Jack Dub. Mason Stuff and Jack Dub. Mason Stuff and Jack Dub.
Hello everyone and welcome to another week of the Meadows and Makers podcast. I'm your host Greg Dowd, also known as Making Stuff on the Steemit blockchain. And so I am returning this week from a trip to Acapulco, Mexico to attend the Anarchapulco conference down there. And I have some stories to tell you guys from my trip down there and my time down there. And we're going to go over some of that in the show today, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the big takeaways I had from the conference. And in the last hour of the show, I was able to catch an interview with someone in the crypto space as works for the Crypto Vigilante, and we're going to have a discussion there and how cryptos can relate to self-reliance, and was really grateful to be able to get interview with Rafael La Verde. And it looks like Rondon says that I have little issues with some of my intro music that I need to work out. So I'll figure that out going forward here. Wow, lots of stuff happened in that last week there. I saw that Ned Scott sold Steemit to Tron. And I'm sure you guys have a little bit better scoop on that, and that Crimson Clad will be sharing more information on that on her show. I know during last week I talked to Rondon, and he said that he was going to stream the live AMA and just do that on last week's show. So you guys are probably more filled in on everything that's going on there with that, but I'd like to hear more about it. Last week I was I guess I was out there for around 10 days or so. I've just been going from one conversation to the next, and just meeting so many really cool people. A lot of them I'm going to try to get on the show at some point in the future. People from all walks of life and from all kinds of different situations. A lot of them that are being harmed by government currently that have their stories to share. There was a couple of guys in particular that I talked to that are going to be pretty interesting to bring on the show. One guy's from Sweden, and he's got he's had a really hard time with the Swedish government and things that are going on with that. And then another guy was from Australia that just has now made Mexico his full-time. Yeah, Mexico is his new home, and so he also spent some time in the village in the area of Charan, where Charan is a area in Mexico, a little town in Mexico, where they completely kicked out the cartel and the federal government from Charan, and so they operate under their own rules, and it's a really interesting type of governance model that they have there in Charan, and there was a documentary that was done about it there, and that is going to be out, I think, and I'll have to dig into more for that, but yeah, he spent some time in Charan, and now he's kind of going around Mexico, and he's got this little fruit smoothie stand that he does around Mexico. And it's really interesting. Mexico is not what everybody is taught. It's my experience there in Acapulco is Mexico is so much more free than the United States. I mean, as long as you're not messing with anybody, people there, it's they really enjoy having tourists there, and tourism is a big part of their economy there in Acapulco, and the people are all really awesome people everywhere that I've met. And we spent a lot of time down in a little surfing area called Bonfil. And there's Bonfil Beach right there where a lot of surfers go and interact. And there's a nice little community right there in Bonfil where they've rented out a couple pretty big houses down there. Some of the expats get together, and they have either, I believe they either bought or they rent these houses from one of the locals there for the time when people come in for Anarchapulco, and they're just like these really big houses with like a pool in the backyard and all this stuff right next to Bonfil Beach, right in this area where they have this little turtle sanctuary, and it's where they raise these sea turtles, and then they'll release them into the ocean and help bring the sea turtle population back. And it's a really neat place. I have I have some video from going to that party. I went to that party one night. It was called the Turtle Party, and it was a really cool little spot on the beach there, and I'll have to post that up on my. I didn't get that ready for the show today, and I'm beating myself for that, but I'll have to post it up either on a later show, or it's going to be posted up on my blog, and you'll see what kind of place it is. It's just a beautiful place. Also got involved in a couple of the local events while I was down there. Turns out I'm probably one of the bigger anarchist guys. So I'm just like a pretty big dude anyway in the community. And so for a couple of nights I was asked to, I asked to volunteer, but a couple of people wanted to have me as their kind of their bouncer guy that worked the door, their doorman. And so I volunteered to do that at a couple parties. And so that got me like more involved in what's going on in the local community. And I had a real good time doing that. And I got to meet a lot of people that way because I was shaking everybody's hand when they entered, and got to know everybody's names anyway. And anyway, everybody kind of was able to recognize me from being the doorman. So anyway, I just had a good time doing that and got to meet more people, especially the locals. Mike Nimitz is one of the guys that had a party at his place, and it was just like this huge, beautiful house that overlooks Acapulco and the bay there. and it was really cool. And in that area of Acapulco, it's like it's kind of like it's a private community going up to this place, and it's just so magical. I can't describe it to you guys other than like I could show you some pictures to try to get the message across. But okay, so this is the beginning of my trip down to Acapulco. I had an interview at the passport agency in Atlanta to get a passport expedited. I was able to get the passport the same day, but on the way there, I got stuck in a major traffic incident where a semi truck drove off of the Interstate 20 and into a ditch, and I was stuck in traffic for over an hour and a half, just waiting for this truck to get cleared. Fortunately, I had left earlier in the morning, probably about an hour earlier than I thought, and that saved me because I made it right to the passport agency, like right on time for my appointment, and I was able to get all my information in there, all my paperwork and everything like that, and right on time, and I was able to pick up my passport the same day at 2:30. So if anybody needs to get a passport expedited, apparently Atlanta is one of the best places to go because I think it's either Atlanta and one of these other regional places that they actually make the passports there. And so once you turn in all your information, they can print them up and get them done like that same day if it's necessary. But I guess I really wouldn't advise doing that. I just, for some reason, it worked out for me. But apparently, yeah, Atlanta is one of those places where you can get them done the same day. And so I did that, and then I took my flight at it was a morning flight, 8 a.m. Got into the Atlanta airport real early there, and was able to catch my flight to first Mexico City and then on to Acapulco. And being my first time traveling out of the country, I had no idea how things worked at the Mexico City airport. And I'll tell you one thing, the Mexico City airport is pretty confusing. At first they told us that we had to pick up our checked bag and bring it through immigration and all this stuff, and then go check it back in for our connecting flight. And so when I got there, I touched base. I was waiting in the baggage claim area for a little bit before I moved through the next step of the process. And then it turned out that, they just checked the bag on through. I talked to a few people. Of course, they don't speak English very well. Everybody's speaking Spanish. And so I just was confused, but I went ahead to go catch my flight, and everything turned out to be fine. When I got to Acapulco, my bag was there and everything was okay. So I made it there, and it was no problem. Just Mexico City airport's a little it's just a little confusing. So let me see. Here's a picture I'm going to post of the Princess the Princess Hotel that I was staying at, and this place is beautiful. I mean, it is like a really beautiful place. I didn't end up staying at this hotel. I stayed at one that was like very, very close. That was like it was half the price of the staying at the Princess, and it was within walking distance of the hotel. So I was able to link up with somebody right before my trip, and we linked up through Telegram, and we were able to arrange. He had already booked the Airbnb, which was a little condominium, a little condo apartment right across from the Princess Theater there on a golf course. And so we just communicated before the trip, and everything lined up, and he was a really cool guy. Steve, shout out to Steve. Thanks for letting me room with you. And Steve is a new great friend. So yeah, I was able to stay at that hotel and then walk back and forth from the Princess there. And everything in this little area is very convenient around that hotel. There's a Walmart that's just down the street that you can walk to and get all your stuff. There's a place where you can exchange your money and all that, even though they will do it at the hotel, at the Princess Hotel that was there for Anarchapulco. But they give you an unfavorable exchange rate at the hotel. You can get a better exchange rate if you go and exchange your dollars for pesos somewhere else. But other than that, my only big complaint about Acapulco is you really got to know what to do with the taxi drivers, and you got to know about how much it is for a taxi to go so far, and you want to agree on a price really before you get on your taxi, before you agree to go in the taxi to your location. So that's one thing I think that they kind of can get over on the tourists that come down there, is that sometimes you might pay too much for taking a taxi somewhere. So it's good to understand about how much the cost is going to be for a taxi getting from here and there. And then there's different taxis too. Like there's some taxis that are really cheap. They sit on the side of the street corner, and they're like a small minivan, and then a bunch of people get in that taxi until they fill it up. And then I think it's like, I think it's the equivalent of like $2 to $5 to get where you're going, but they just take stops. It's like a shuttle bus in the US that'll drop you off in certain locations. And so they'll drop you off, and it might not be exactly where you want to go, but it's like kind of around the area. And so you just get dropped off there, and then you just walk the rest of the way. And so that was another thing that I learned while I was there. But another cool thing about Acapulco is the entire beach in Acapulco is a public beach. There's no private dividers that divide up any section of the beach. It's all a public beach for anybody. You can walk all over the beach. You can, one of the big things they had at the Princess was a place where you could rent ATVs, and you could rent a little ATV and go all over the place on the beach. I think you could rent them per hour, per day. And that's another good way of getting around there, because most of the shops and most of all the other stuff is located along the beach. So you could just rent one of these ATVs at one point and just kind of go around all over the beach and check out the different spots. Like if you want to go surfing, or if you want to charter a boat to go fishing, or go snorkeling and scuba diving somewhere. And then they also have a really awesome place that you can go cliff diving. And I think I can't remember the height of the cliffs, but that was something I wanted to go check out at one point. But yeah, I made it there, and it was the first night I got to go and meet a ton of people. And honestly, I would say the best thing about Anarchapulco for me was just the times I was able to sit down and just meet a bunch of people during the event at the bar. Just at the bar at the hotel, everybody kind of hangs out and stays at the bar and just kind of chats and gets to know each other. And I'll tell you, if you go to the conference, if you go to the Anarchapulco, that's where you're going to get the most. I think that's where you're going to get the most value for going to one of these conferences, is in meeting the people and going to do the side, events and hanging out with people and getting to share your stories together. And the people that come to these conferences are going to be of a like mind. Not to say that everybody's going to agree with everything, and that's really good. But everybody is willing to listen to different people's ideas and different people's thoughts on different subjects. So that's what's so refreshing, because in normal life, when we're talking to other people, a lot of times if you bring up certain subjects, then some people just completely shut down and they won't listen to anything else that you're going to say. Whereas here, people will, listen with, they'll listen and be able to take in what you're saying, and they'll be respectful of what you got to say. So that's one of the best. By far, that's one of the best things about going to these events. Now, I'm going to give you guys some of the inside baseball on what went down at Anarchapulco. Some of these videos may have gone up, I'm not sure, but I was kind of caught in the middle of some of this stuff that went on. The first night I got there, I went to go talk to this guy that's also on Steam. His name is Quinn Eaker. And this guy is a really tall guy, really tall man, and he runs this intentional community in the Dallas-Fort Worth area called the Garden of Eden. And so he was one of my main people that I really wanted to see at this event. And so he's also a big Steamian. He's big on Steemit. And Crimson Clad already knows. And so I talked to him the first night, and I was asking him what it takes to really run a successful intentional community. And pretty much what he told me was that one of the big things that every intentional community fails on is that they don't have a good leader. And so I was really taking what he was saying to heart, and really was respecting the guy. And he has all this he's a very interesting character. Like he wears really fancy garb, and he has this these crystals all in his beard and all this stuff, and it's just like he's a dynamo to talk to when you're talking to him, because he's very intense person. And so anyway, I say all this because the second night, the night of the opening concert and the opening of the Anarchapulco, the first day of the event, with all the speakers and the opening ceremony and everything, that night Quinn and Jeff got into a fist fight at the concert, at the opening concert. They got into a fist fight with each other, and it was supposedly they both agreed that they were going to fight. It was a agreed upon fight. But Quinn comes up to me after this. I didn't end up going to the actual concert, but Quinn comes up to me and he tells me all of the story about what's going on. Hey, Foxit, how's it going, man? I just got back from Anarchapulco, and I'm kind of sharing the story about what happened there. And so he got into a fight with Jeff, and then he comes up to me while I was standing at the bar. I happened to be talking to Josh, it was Josh Sigurdson and Dan Dix at the time at the bar. We were chatting about all kinds of different stuff, and then Quinn recognized me from talking to him the day earlier, and so he came over to chat with me, and apparently he was telling me that Jeff had thrown the first punch, and once somebody throws a punch at him, he's just going at him, full force. And so we talked to him for a while, and he was getting kind of like really passionate about that and what he was saying, and just like was kind of like just really, this adrenaline was still flowing. And apparently Jeff comes in a while later. Quinn had left and kind of was walking around somewhere else, and so so he went to go walk off and go chat with some other people and stuff like that. And then Jeff comes up, and I was like, Jeff, man, what happened? What was going on? Why did this fight even happen? And Jeff was like, well, it was an agreed upon fight. This guy was just coming up to me and like kind of getting in my face. And at one point I just said, do you just want to fight and get this over with, And so anyway, they had agreed upon the fight apparently. But Jeff had created 2 rules for the fight. Was that, if you do too much damage, then the fight is over. Then, if somebody can't come back, defend themselves or whatever. And then also another rule was there's no kicking in the fight. Well, it looked like Quinn broke both of those agreements in the fight. And so anyway, there's this fight. Quinn was going to be a speaker, but he was lucky he didn't get kicked out of the whole event by Jeff, and Jeff didn't kick him out. He let him stay. I guess he bought his own, he ended up like buying his own hotel room to stay and all this stuff. And so it was a real shame that happened. And this Quinn guy is just, there's more stories about Quinn, but I'm going to leave it at that. And it was just sad that kind of happened. And apparently there was a documentary crew that was there to kind of document the whole anarchist movement, and they caught all that fight happening and all that drama around it and all that stuff. And it was just kind of sad. But It was also sad that this year the attendance for the event was quite low. It was lower than last year's, and I think a lot of people kind of contribute that to this woman that's been running the conference was Jessica Kill. It was announced a couple days ago by Jeff Berwick that Jessica Kill is no longer involved with Anarchapulco, so we'll see what happens next year. But there's a lot of talk in the community of people that just want to go off and maybe just create their own event, and try to stay away from any of the crazy dramas and things like that may happen around Anarchapulco. But so yeah, it's just I'll tell you, I mean, that was the thing that happened right off the bat. Everything went real smooth on after that, and so yeah, this Jessica Kill woman, there's so many speakers out there. Tim Pachote just put out a video about his dealings with Jessica Kill, and I know more of the speakers had these issues. I caught Derek Bros there, either the first or the second day, and I sat down and talked to him. And he was off to the Envision Festival, which is like kind of a music festival, but they also do teachings on like permaculture stuff and different liberty, and people can come and just discuss their ideas and stuff like that. And so yeah, Derek really talked about that. He didn't actually participate in Anarchapulco this year. He stayed behind to go off to the Envision Festival, and then he was kind of looking for a place to go in Mexico. And so he was searching around in Mexico for maybe a place that he could set up shop for a while down there, just to kind of learn what it was like to live down there. So I got to talk to Derek. I bought his new book that just came out. It was how to opt out of the technocratic state, and so he was there, and I got to talk to him one-on-one. But this event, it is super great to be able to talk to people on a one-on-one level and really get to know them as a person, instead of a celebrity that you see on YouTube that's, doing these videos all the time. And they really, you really get to know the people a lot better. And one of the guys that really impressed me there was Dan Dix. And so I got to sit down and really get to talk with Dan. And he's just I can't say enough about him. He's just a really great guy, and he's just a really down to earth kind of guy. And we were talking about how sometimes people come up to him and they really don't know what to say because they're so like shell shocked by getting to meet somebody as a celebrity. But he's just a regular guy that, he's doing extraordinary things. And that's kind of what I told him, was that, maybe some people, a lot of people in their lives aren't trying to do extraordinary things. And he's an example of somebody doing something extraordinary. So I think that's really the reason why some people get a little bit, they get a little nervous when they get around somebody like that, is that, or, you're attracting a lot of people because of what you're doing, but you're also like a person that has done very extraordinary things, and most people aren't doing those extraordinary things. And so when somebody gets to meet somebody like that, it's like really it kind of shakes them up a little bit. So anyway, yeah, and he said, yeah, he recognizes that and everything. He's just, I gotta say, he's just a really great guy. But what more can I say about Acapulco, Mexico? It's just from the local guys there. I met several of the guys from I met a few guys from Bonfil Beach, and then this other guy, Acapulco Ron, who his story is fascinating. He started off in a hut in Mexico. He was homeless in the States. He was like, couldn't make anything happen in the States. He comes down to Mexico, and now the guy is driving around in a BMW. Worked his way from a hut, a small hut, and got involved in the Tasco community, which is one of the biggest silver mining areas in Mexico. He started buying up like bulk amounts of silver and reselling the silver and all this stuff, and just really made his way in Mexico, where he was struggling so hard in Mexico. And the bottom line was, he said the American dream doesn't exist anymore in the States, but it's alive in Mexico. And so anyway, meeting him was really fascinating. And so let me show you guys a little bit of the area of the place that I was staying. And we were staying in these little condos in right next to the Princess Theater that I was talking about. And here is an image from that area that I took. This wasn't the place I was staying in specifically, but it was a friend that I met while I was there, and she got to stay in this little condo that was up a little higher. So that was the picture, and this is the little golf course around where it was, right by the ocean there. I was in that building, but I didn't have that view. So I was on the opposite end, but you can just see, and just walking around, you see coconuts everywhere. You could just pick up a coconut and eat the coconut and everything, and it's just really cool. So all in all, I mean, I really enjoyed the event, and one of the big projects that was there at the event was, if anybody has heard of the seasteading movement, has anybody out there, anybody listening in the audience, heard about the seasteaders, the people that are looking to build homes out in the ocean and do all this stuff? So, Pensive, you just missed some juicy bits, man. You'll have to go back and listen to the recording, but anyway, yeah. So I'm getting to the point at which one of the big projects that I really believe in that was there at Anarchapulco this year was a group of people that are moving on from the seasteading movement, and it is they are now in Panama after what happened in the Thai waters, where they set up a spar outside of Thai waters. They were at 13 miles, so they were outside of the Thai water territory. The Thai government had created huge news about these people that had moved out there, that they were some kind of international threat, military force that was going to attack Thailand, and they spread this propaganda all over the news in Thailand. And so Nadia and this guy Chad, who are two of the most nice, they are the nicest people you have ever met in your entire lives, the most nice, gentle people. At no point did I see them not smiling at this event. And let me just show you a picture of these two. Look at these two people, all right? Nadia is a native of Thailand, and then Chad is from Michigan. And they are just two of the most gentle, soft-spoken people that you've ever met in your entire lives. Wouldn't hurt a fly. And these people were labeled as a international threat to the Thai government by simply living on an ocean spar that was out beyond the territory of the Thai waters, not hurting anyone, actually increasing the local ocean life, because when you put one of these spars in the ocean, it's an area for life to generate and give shade for the fish. And so what they realized once they put this spar in the ocean was that it started to grow life. It was teeming with life by all these fish gathering around the structure and where no life was before. They made the comparison that, when you're out in the open ocean waters, it's much like being in a desert, because there's just not a lot of food out there for other fish. But once they put the spar there and the actual their waste that's being discharged too out of the spar is helping to bring local life into the spar. And now they've even they're looking at increasing this idea by making more surface area and stimulating the water with a small electrical voltage, electrical current in the local area, which helps the coral to bring in more calcium to make the corals' lives a lot easier for them to establish a habitat for living creatures. And so Rondon just asked, what's a spar? So essentially what this thing was it was just a floating pretty much just a long pole that was weighted at the bottom of the entire thing, and the whole thing was like encapsulated so that it would be able to float. And so there were also, I believe there were things in there in the spar so that the bottom was very heavy. And so it's like a Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down kind of thing. So it had buoyancy, but the pole goes like very far into the water, and at the bottom there's a weight to keep it from dancing around all over the place while the waves come and move up and down. And the reason why they were in Thai waters was because the ocean waves only get to a certain height in that area of Thailand. And so they chose that area for that reason, so that they could handle waves up to a certain amount with the thing that they erected. And so Nadia and Chad were the first. They're pioneers. I would call them the Lewis and Clark of seasteading, because they went out and did this, having not lived in the ocean or anything like that, and they wanted to get out there and actually prove that people could go out and live in the ocean, and it's a possibility. Like, this idea can work, and it's one of the first steps into space exploration, in my opinion, is that proving that you can live in the sea independently, is one of the next steps we really need to being able to live out in space self-sufficiently. And so right now, ocean builders, after what happened with Thailand, Nadia and Chad had to flee at the last moment to get out of Thailand, to be being incarcerated and thrown in prison in Thailand. They're still fugitives on the run from the Thai government, and they found that Panama, you can't get extradited in Panama to Thailand. So now their home base is in Panama. Nadia still has family back in Thailand, and so hopefully one day she'll be able to have her name cleared and be able to reunite with her family, and hopefully get her family maybe to come over to where she is in Panama. So these guys have now built a home base in Panama and are moving forward with building these sea pods. And I have this up on my screen right now. If anybody's watching on mspwaves.com, you can see what I have pulled up on my screen right now. And they're doing some interesting stuff with these sea pods. They're building these completely out of one of the world's biggest 3D printers. It'll be the biggest 3D printer in Latin America, and it's I believe the footprint is like a 25-foot by 30-foot 3D printer that they're going to have on site, where they're going to just 3D print all these sea pods and these land pods. And that's the cool thing. They're not only building these for the water. They're building these to be like electric Ewoks, so that you can have a little spar on land and have it in the middle of it'd be like a self-sufficient little pod that you could pop down on land somewhere. And so their business model is to get people to buy the pods and rent them out for Airbnbs and such like that. So right now is an opportunity to get involved with these guys on the ground floor on being able to really manifest this idea in a big way to move out to the ocean, the broader ocean, and to get there on the bottom floor as this thing is just being developed. They're currently looking for people that can help develop technologies that can be used in the sea pods for energy, for food production, for waste, handling waste. And the main design for the sea pods has been created, and they're looking to accept their 3D printer there very soon. If you're interested in getting involved with the project, go to their website, ocean.builders. I also was super stoked about this idea, and I went up to talk to them after the presentation, and really am interested in getting involved with a lot of the things that I'm doing with my trailer and the microgrid type application to this WasteBot product, which is turning plastics into usable diesel fuels at a benchtop scale. And so they're offering a place to stay down there for around $400 a month in rent for anybody that is looking to is an entrepreneur and an innovator that has some real working solutions for integrating into these sea pods and for the broader idea of the whole seasteading movement. And so they are looking to provide an incubator space, a workshop space there. They're currently have broken ground on that, and the concrete is being poured as we speak, I believe. And so this is all happening in Panama. And another thing that they're offering, if you get involved with their project and you want to buy a sea pod, is part of their package is a Panamanian residency. So very exciting times. And this is one of the projects that I believe will help move humanity into the age of abundance, in my opinion. One of the only big drawbacks of being on the sea is that you still have to take a boat from your pod to land, and back and forth is like one of the main disadvantages. As these things grow and develop, and the technology gets better for being able to grow indoors, being able to grow things like aquaponics and things like that indoors, I see the trips that you're going to need to go from land to sea is going to become less and less over time. And so anyway, this is just a really exciting time to be alive, I'll tell you. And at this conference, it was a very, very good opportunity to meet people that are doing very unique projects. This one being the cream of the crop as far as I saw there at the conference. There's a lot of people that were, giving everyone tools on how to get outside of the current system. And, this I think deserves a really good look if you're interested in becoming more free in your life and in getting involved in a project that may help determine the future course of humanity. And so I laugh so much because it's just the joy I get when I think about this as part of the thing, as part of everything that went on down there. So anyway, with all this being said, I'm getting close to my time to wrap up some of my experiences here, and I do have an interview about from Rafael La Verde, who is deep into the cryptocurrencies, and then also he has a background. His background is in philosophy and psychology and economics, and so he is one of the team of the Crypto Vigilante, which works with Jeff and the Dollar Vigilante, and he gets out there and he covers a lot of the aspects of cryptocurrencies and what's going on in the space. And then he gave a really good speech at Anarchapulco on the Cryptopulco stage, comparing both Monero and Bitcoin SV as the two currencies that are out, cryptocurrencies that are out there that he thinks have a really great potential moving forward because of their underlying philosophies. And one of the things that he made a comparison to while we were talking was that a lot of these other cryptos are now trying to go more privacy centered after what has happened to where you can trace Bitcoins that have been used in things like the Silk Road, and now they're being tainted as tainted coins. And so that's one of his major things that he talked about, is that whenever you're buying your cryptos, your Bitcoins from a decentralized exchange, be very, very careful, because you don't know where that could come from. It could potentially be seized from, well, it could potentially be labeled as a tainted coin because they can all get tracked. And so he highly recommends that you only buy Monero from a decentralized exchange, and you'll hear that in this interview I had with him. So something to keep in mind, definitely. And then gets into a lot of the background behind these things. So without further ado, let me play you guys this is the unedited version of the talk we had together. So enjoy. Later on, I'm going to edit a couple parts out of this, but you'll see why. Yes, this is Greg Dowd, and today I'm joined with a special guest that met at the Anarchapulco down in Acapulco, Mexico. And my guest today is Rafael La Verde. He rides for the Crypto Vigilante, part of working with Jeff Berwick. And so, Rafael, how have you liked Anarchapulco this year? And maybe you could tell my audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for having me, Doug.
Greg.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, you're good.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for having me, Greg. This year was amazing here at Anarchapulco. It was another great event. I had a great time. I've been friends with Jeff Berwick since 2013, early 2013. We met at the Miami Bitcoin Conference in January of 2013, and we've been friends since. Jeff is an early Bitcoin adopter, so am I. At the time, I was part of the BitAngels network. I was running the CRM for the BitAngels network, so I got to see all of the early Bitcoin startups that came into the space. And whenever a good one would come by, I would ping Jeff right away. He would be like one of my first guys to call. Hey, why is that? Because early on, I recognized that there were not a lot of anarchists coming into Bitcoin. I mean, and even those that were libertarian, even amongst libertarians, there's a lot of economic illiteracy. So Jeff and I started playing with the idea of a Bitcoin vigilante back then, 2014. But then, in my ambition, in my naivety, I decided to create the first Bitcoin venture capital fund in the U.S. So I went up to New York City. I met some people that were interested in Bitcoin, like Mr. Matthew Mellon, and we ended up helping him with some private placements. I had a really cool group of guys that were not libertarian at all. And I learned my lesson with them. They're great guys. But they're statists. And at the time, I thought I was going to be able to influence them and maybe steer the boat in the right direction. But I learned the hard way that if you're not ideologically in sync with someone, it really doesn't go nowhere. So after realizing that the hard way, and realizing that the whole venture was a sunk cost, because of the fact that they were statist, I promised myself not to work with anyone that was not at the very least a libertarian. You know, I have no problem working with any libertarian of any stripe, even if they're objectivist. I love agorists. But yeah, they in my book, they have to be libertarian for me to work with them like on a serious level. So Jeff and I, we kept being friends throughout the years, and And post fork, Jeff and I really post fork of 2017, we ended up talking more, and the idea of creating a crypto vigilante emerged once again. And I realized that that the crypto space in general, Bitcoin, had become more and more status over time, and Jeff became almost like a lone voice, and a lot of the anarchists and ANCAPs, a lot of the ANCAPs and libertarians that were in Bitcoin, a lot of them, in my opinion, a lot of them are economically illiterate. A lot of them, and a lot of the great ones they have great OPSEC, and they're very private people. So I was like, fuck, we really need to step this up. And so I really valued my privacy. But I realized at the moment that I was at a moral imperative, right? I had to choose to either remain quiet and silent and complain on the boards on Reddit, complain on the boards on Bitcoin Talk, through a sock puppet, whatever, and I could do what everyone else is doing, but I realized, you know what, man, like, if I am comfortable speaking to people, if I have these natural gifts, and if I don't use them, if I don't do this, I just felt like I really needed to get out. And at first it was difficult to let go of my privacy. And now the more I'm on this journey, the more I realize that what protects me now is providing value, right? Yeah. And so my mindset has changed from one where I would look at I would look at government and the state and anyone with a statist mindset as a potential like enemy, right? Or someone dangerous, because indeed they are, people that are of a statist mindset are dangerous people. They don't know anything else but the language of violence when it comes down to cooperating or dispute resolution. They really don't know any other language. Yeah. So we're at the point where I now see everyone as a potential client. Can we stop it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, we got interrupted for a second there. Sorry. Yeah. So you value your privacy, and you want to remain, you want to protect yourself. But if you decide to go the public route, like you, Greg, are doing, more and more, I think that you have to start looking at things from a very capitalist perspective, and it's very healthy. So now I personally view everyone in the world as a potential client, right? So my idea is to woo them, to show them the value that we have, and it's in providing value that we protect them. At the end of the day, human action, praxeology, which is the bottom line science of everything that we do here, teaches us that people have to deal with the limitedness of our embodiment, right? You live in the space-time continuum. You're an embodied being. You're a person with limited options, and that's what allows you to recognize that everything that you do in life is driven towards purpose, right? And the more free you are, the more you're able to pursue purpose, right? So. And I'm sorry, but let me just continue that logical thought. And by default, you have more meaning to your life, right? So I think the libertarian path is by far the most meaningful of all paths, because it is the one that espouses freedom the most, right? So if we're providing this amazing perspective, if we're constantly profit seeking as capitalists, and we are profitable, right? And we constantly point out the sunk cost in the world, in the market, right? With like the Federal Reserve, that's a sunk cost. That whole system is a sunk cost. If we keep providing value, I think even the most hardened statist will recognize that what we talk about and that what we do and our ventures benefit them as well, right? you'd be really dumb right now if you don't have a hedge on with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you're a human being listening to this and you don't have a little Bitcoin, really, come on, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, seriously, like, step up, Like, it's a hedge against everything, and everything from the banking establishment seems like it's going. It's obvious that it's going downhill. So why not hedge your bet? At least a little bit, right? It's just the proper way of acting as an investor. So the goal right now, post privacy, post OPSEC, is to provide as much value as possible, and that's where I'm at. I really care about Jeff Berwick. I value him a lot as a person, and I thank him a lot for everything that he's done in putting himself out there. I also value everyone that came before him, like Ron Paul, Doug Casey, Murray Rothbard, Von Mises. These are all guys that really put themselves out there, and they were countercultural and counter-economic, and so I think that if you're listening to this and you feel like, man, you know what, I should, I would love to be, having a conversation about this and being more outspoken about this, please do that. The more people we have talking about this, the better. If you find yourself as being a person that prefers to have their OPSEC secure, then do that. This is all personal preference. Everyone has their own role to play, and I encourage you to really find yours and pursue that.
Yeah, thank you, Rafael. And my podcast is all about being self-reliant and working towards self-reliance. And so I saw your talk on the crypto stage at Anarchapulco, and I really liked how you laid out the different philosophies, especially with Monero and Bitcoin SV on the side of, you said Ayn Rand is kind of the side of the Bitcoin SV, and then Monero is more the side of Samuel Edward Konkin, who's talking about using black and gray markets, counter markets, and how you can use that to really become anonymous in the markets, and you stay away from the state. You don't have to always fight with the state. You can work around the state. And so yeah, maybe I'd like to get a little bit of your thoughts on self-reliance with cryptocurrencies and what you think is the how those two things can correlate between being more self-reliant in your life and having some cryptocurrencies and maybe some of the projects that you believe in. I know you gave a really strong argument for both Monero and Bitcoin SV, so maybe if I can get you to comment a little bit on that kind of aspect of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so I gave those as examples, but the main point that I was trying to make is that we as libertarians, we have an incredible heritage, and it's the most important investment that you can make for yourself and for your loved ones is for you to sit down, take some time, rent a cabin, fire up the laptop and or bring a good book and just really study these things, because if we're to be money for the world, right? If we're to provide value in the world, you're gonna have to understand our heritage and its completion, right? So yes, by all means, study praxeology. I think praxeology as a science will give you X-ray vision into the market. You'll be able to see things that others don't see, and they'll become much more evident for you. Not that you will fall into the pretense of knowledge. Don't ever do that. But you will be able to find coherence in understanding how human beings act and why they do what they do in the market. And, well, you have two extremes, right, that I brought up, which you have the agorist extremes. And funny enough, both of these extremes are not featured at the Mises Institute. Mises.org, you don't see writings about Konkin or writings about Ayn Rand, which is interesting, right? And they share the same heritage, right? Yeah. So Ayn Rand is obviously an objectivist, right? And Konkin is the other extreme, which is a complete agorist, right? Yeah. So you have two extremes that come from the same heritage, Konkin is completely counter-economic. He champions the gray, white, and black markets as the free market. The only thing he's against is the red market, which, is anything where you hurt other people, right? Extortion, murder, whatever, that don't do that, right? Obviously, that violates the non-aggression principle. Yeah. And on the other extreme, you have Ayn Rand, who, I definitely don't agree with her 100%, but I see the value in what she says. Why do I see value in what she says? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you rather get along with X? Would you rather be right and correct about your assessment about X, or would you rather win X? Right. And the beautiful thing here is that Konkin gave everyone through this counter-economic approach of acting, of not just being a passive armchair libertarian, but participating in the agora. Konkin gave us the means, the counter-economic means to win, right? And Konkin is the cliche of to create an alternative system that makes the existing system obsolete, right? That's Konkin in a nutshell, right? Yeah. Participate in an alternative system that makes the existing system obsolete, right? Well, I agree with that 100%. And the best coin that personifies that is Monero by far. And that's why it is the coin that at the Crypto Vigilante, the Dollar Vigilante, it is the coin we champion the most. By far, it's our favorite coin, is the coin we agree upon, everything, right? But guess what? There is another approach that fellow libertarians are trying out. And it's an approach that needs to be spoken about. People don't want to talk about that because of Craig Wright. But that approach is the objectivist approach, which is to win by any means necessary and use all of the tools at your disposal, and to use tools that will be used against you before they are used against you, right? Mm-hmm. To use tools against your adversaries before your adversaries use them against you. So this is the objectivist approach, right? If you look at Ayn Rand and you study, objectivists don't mind patents. They are okay with intellectual property. They are okay with intervention of the state. They are not anarchists. They are minarchists, right? They believe that government should have some role to play. And from a capitalist perspective, they have an argument where they won't tell you this up front, but Rothbard was able to give us a insight as to what it is that they're thinking, and it is the following thing: that if we were to have a complete free market where everyone is able to compete in every aspect, a complete free market with no regulation whatsoever, and everyone could sell coffee, for example, that at this bar they can sell you coffee, the lady walking next to me can sell coffee, the guy sitting next to me sells coffee. All of a sudden, we have that. We see that prices, that margin, that the margin, the profit margins are decrease because now there's more and more competition, where the capitalists, the margin for profit decreases because there's like a very equal level playing field, right? Yeah. So, that's amazing, right? Yeah. That's what Rothbard gets to that point, but I think that with the technology that we have now, I'm just taking his argument a little further. Yeah. I would say that we will create ever more value, right? And have ever more niche products. You'll get more value for your buck, right? That's and I think that's what Rothbard says himself, right? Okay, but the objectivist looks at this from a little different, right? He says, well, as long as there's some sort of central planner, and you cuddle up to him and you find favoritism with him, your profit margins would be greater than if there wasn't one. Okay. You see what I mean? So there'll always be that, because there's less competition. Yeah. And so a strict capitalist that wants to capitalize more actually prefers that. Right. It's not the most freedom-oriented approach, yeah. But it is an argument that objectivists make, right? And that's why they're minarchists, right? Yeah. So many times you talk to a minarchist or an objectivist, and you throw out premises that they completely agree with, and premises about hey, Do you believe that the free market can do it? Is there anything that the state does that the free market can't solve better? Yeah. And they'll say, no, there's nothing. So, therefore, why the fuck do you need the state, right? Yeah. And the conversation like stops there, and they really don't have an answer for it, and they just kind of like divert that conclusion. So I honestly think that I don't think objectivists are stupid. I just think that they're thinking about things from a different perspective. See, the objectivist, I think, agrees with us, and fundamentally, I think the objectivist agrees with our conclusions, but they're stoic. And they're like, well, we don't live in a world of anarchy yet. We still live in a world where government exists. So, I care more about winning and making profit than about being correct in my assessment. So I think that is maybe I think that's I don't know. I think a lot of this is my personal take on objectivists and the way they see the world. But I find that to be valuable. Yeah. Because now we have another manifestation within crypto of a completely objectivist network. BSV is a network of objectivists, really, that does not want to be a network governed by central planners. It's a network that does not buy into the notion of decentralization, because in my mind, a lot of that a lot of socialists have come into the space equating decentralization with equality. You know, I think that's bullshit. Yeah. And what I do like about the more capitalist approach is that you still value decentralization and what it means, but who decides what enough decentralization is perfect decentralization, right? Some committee, some group of people, I don't know. In crypto, I've never heard a straight answer as to how people come to consensus. The only consensus that I ever subscribed to was the Nakamoto consensus. And the Nakamoto consensus is where you put competition over decentralization, right? So it is within a competitive environment of the free market that the market will provide for us the accurate amount of nodes that the market needs to stay valuable, right? So how many car companies exist, right? We don't have millions of car companies. We have a good, no more than 20 throughout the world. So the car industry is, I would say, in providing value, pretty decentralized, right? And yet but first and foremost, all these companies compete. And they constantly, compete in giving us a better car every year, and we get a good product overall. So, I personally like the notion of competition. And I think that's an aspect that has not been championed or spoken about within cryptocurrency as it should be. And a lot of it has to do because of the economic literacy in the space. And many people that are anarcho-capitalists even, they talk a lot about anarchy, but they forget the capitalism aspect. And the only way that we're gonna achieve a limited government is by outcompeting government services, and that's not in an antagonistic way. It's literally by being more cost efficient. It's literally by providing more value in the market. So I think that the greatest gift that Satoshi gave us was the Nakamoto consensus, which is a meritocracy of miners. It's a competition of miners who are the entities within the Bitcoin network who have the most to lose. If you're a miner, you have SHA-256 computers that if the market would crash and Bitcoin would cease to exist, you cannot divest from those computers. No one's going to buy those computers. They're specialized only for buying. That's scrap metal. No one wants that. If you have a fintech company, you're going to be able to pivot to something. If you have a Bitcoin company, you can pivot to something in fintech. And if you own Bitcoin as the price is crashing, you can short it and exit the market, right? But if you're a miner, you're extremely committed. So Satoshi designed Bitcoin in a way where in fact miners have the most to lose and they have the most to gain by securing the network. Not in the present moment, but also in the future. So a miner is future oriented, right? Because especially if you look at Bitcoin from a big blocker approach, right, where it's capital intensive, right, where it's not BTC Bitcoin, but I'm talking about Bitcoin from the perspective of Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, you know, where you're allowing the free market of miners to decide to use whatever the fuck they want, whatever equipment they want to be most efficient. When you allow the market and you allow miners to be autonomous, you create a hyper-capitalist environment where they are completely invested in their own future. And the decisions, the more that they invest in their entities, in their mining infrastructure, the more they have to consider their future. So a rogue miner, any way you meet it. So overall, the incentive of the miner, the applied economics of the miner is one where the security of the network is what favors them the most, right? Where if they are able to provide value to the network and profit for the network, they become more profitable, right?
Yeah.
If the miner in any way has a disincentive to hurt the network, any disincentive is suicidal. So the argument that is made against this is, well, a miner can just say, you know, screw this space, I'm just going to sell everything and I'm just going to attack the space, attack the Bitcoin network, the Bitcoin chain, or, you know, one of the chains, and get as much money as I can out of it and make my exit. Sure, you can do that, but we are in a free market now with crypto, and in the free market, it's like the Wild West. You know, we have this thing called shunning. Someone screws someone over in crypto, oh, everyone will remember. Everyone will remember, and we will remember forever. No one's going to want to do business with Mark Capellas. I'm telling you right now, the guy from Mt. Gox, no one. Yeah. And that guy does not even show up at a Bitcoin conference. Because there's guys there that, you know, if they see him, they might not be able to control their anger. Yeah. So this guy is ostracized, right? So anyone that hurts the network is hurting themselves, right? The only way that, again, let's go back to in a hyper-capitalist environment, what protects you the most is providing value to your adversaries. And that is from an applied economic perspective, that is the argument for Bitcoin being Bitcoin mining and the miner meritocracy being Byzantine fault tolerant from an economic perspective, right? Because it is by providing value that you protect, that you can compete within an adversarial network, within a network where there are adversaries, right, that compete against you. Yeah, the game theory in Bitcoin is not just technical, but it's also economic. And I've always been a big blocker. I brought into the Crypto Vigilante a hardcore small blocker, Mr. X. And his OPSEC is amazing. He's an incredible person. He's a genius, and we disagree, and I think that's valuable. And Mr. X would bash Bitcoin Cash and BSV every day if he could. And if he has time, he will. He's all about, you know, small block Bitcoin BTC. And I'm the opposite. And I think that that's very important, right? Because I think we need to get away from confirmation bias. And I think it's important for us to really challenge one another. So,
okay. Yeah, thank you. So, so that's a really good argument for being able to look at, you know, maybe a little bit more background into cryptocurrencies and, you know, some of the philosophy behind it all, and why, you know, being able to understand these things is important in the coming age that we're living in right now. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is that, you know, well, what's the use in cryptocurrencies if the internet gets shut down? We have a mass power failure or something like that. A lot of times I say, you know, you want to invest in things that can help you out and help you grow food, build things, be able to build shelters and all that, have those bases covered first. And then, you know, right now I really think that cryptocurrencies are the future of money. But yeah, do you foresee any solutions if there was an event like that happens, like a massive power problem or internet problem?
And maybe you could speak a little bit about any solutions that you know about, or just maybe make a comment on that. And if you've heard other people talk about that, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me ask you guys this question, right? And this is rhetorical, right? What would benefit us more long term, right? A coin that is extremely adversarial to government, like Monero. Actually, the other argument being made there also that people make is that Monero being extremely fungible and private is what the deep state would love. So it goes both ways. You see what I mean? It's like it's no longer, when we talk about crypto, it's no longer about status or non-status. It's about human beings acting with seeking profit, human beings, persons, doing what's best for themselves. So Bitcoin changes the paradigm automatically, where it destroys the collective mindset, because you already gave humanity options, right? And so the options that you have listening to this is the same options that Trump now has, right? It's the same option that every person in the world has now with crypto, right? We all have these options now. So the question is, since these options are so valuable to everyone, do you really think we should fear them taking these options away from us and even from themselves? You know, I would say that at this point, I think it comes down, especially to us libertarians, it comes down to us being very, very smart. So I think it's time for us to become more shrewd. It's time to us to assume the sale and realize that we've already won. Yeah. Like, you can't take crypto from us anymore. Like, it's not going to happen. Even worst case scenario, they shut down the internet. We have mesh networks. Yeah. We have companies putting up satellites up in space. We have we can transmit Bitcoin and crypto via text messages. Yeah, so we can do ham radio and move crypto around in ham radio. Like, it's done. Yeah. Game over. It's game over. From that perspective, it's game over. Now I think it's important for us to be cautious, like, and keep that libertarian paranoia up, right? Yeah. Which is important. But I also remember we're anarcho-capitalists, right? So keep the paranoia of that we have, as anarcho-capitalists, but also now it's time to be shrewd capitalists and realize that we already won, assume the sale, and this is the moment right now for you to provide as much value as you can to the people around you. Teach them about Bitcoin. Wear T-shirts that say "fuck the banks." I roll with Bitcoin. Yeah. Ask everyone around you, the guy that cuts your hair to the guy that cleans your car, hey, do you take Bitcoin in as payment? Like, literally, just that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Everywhere that I go, I ask people, hey, do you take Bitcoin? And I bet, and nowadays everyone knows about it, and it's so easy. And it only takes 5 minutes for them to download a wallet, and for you to teach them how to work it. And now they're part of the network. And now you tell them, you know what? I will keep coming to you because I want to spend my crypto here, and they'll love you for that. And then you'll tell them, hey, you're providing such a good service that I'm going to put you on the crypto map. Go online, put them on the crypto map. There's many crypto maps out there. Put them on various crypto directories. Put them up, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's all it takes is for us to, just do these little, take these little steps. The more that we feed the government and these criminal banks that are really dumb, honestly, these are really dumb people. They're statists. They never look. If you don't think for yourself, if you come from that world, you don't. You can't. You can't. If you work for a hub and spokes network, you're a spoke and that's the hub, and you're on your knees all the time. You can't think for yourself. By definition, they're not thinking for themselves, right? You're offering them something that now exists that can't be taken away from them, as it cannot be taken away from you. Absolutely. That gives them freedom like they've never seen before. So, yeah, that's something that there'll be a time of transition, as anyone that goes through trauma recovery from an abusive relationship. Everyone that's a libertarian went through the recovery of realizing that they were in an abusive relationship with the state, and they're still recuperating from that PTSD of being in that abusive relationship that they did not, that was imposed upon them. Everyone around this is going to go through that transition, and it's important to remain vigilant, cautious, but to take a healthier approach and view them as potential clients. View them as potential clients. Every status out there is a potential client. Start looking at them. Stop looking at them as an enemy. Yeah. No. They're potential clients. Woo them. Game them. Sell them. And make sure they come back for more. Yeah. If they're Antifa, more likely they're into the arts, into all this, let's say, hey, woo them. It's like that meme where you have the anarcho-capitalists selling like Antifa equipment. Yeah. And all the Antifa people are making a line, like a bread line, and the ANCAP guy is just selling all this, Antifa swag. And be that guy. You know what I mean? Be that guy. Sure, yeah. What's really funny? These people don't think. All these people legalize marijuana, and I'm stealing someone's joke. Okay. But all these people are legalizing marijuana. At the same time, they're pushing for communism. Like, they haven't thought things through, They really haven't thought things. Can you imagine being in a bread line? No. With the munchies? like imagine being in a bread line with the munchies. Like, these people have not thought things through, you're not dealing with the brides of people here, oh yeah, I want rations while I have the munchies. That makes no sense. So that's who you're dealing with. Right? So it's easy. It's easy pickings now, guys. It's easy to make money now. We have the internet. Use encryption. Use a VPN. It becomes easier every day. You have all these amazing cryptocurrencies. I gave Monero and BSV as two completely opposite philosophies and that are diametrically opposed to one another, but they all fall within the realm of libertarianism, right? And think like a capitalist and woo everyone and really provide value and really outcompete everyone out there. See, right now, as libertarians, we are thinkers and we are ahead of the pack. We really are. And we have differential knowledge, right? We know shit that other people don't. And when you have differential knowledge, that's when you make money. That's where profit is. Once the masses know something, it's no longer profitable. So ask yourself, if you're a libertarian listening to this, you know something that others don't. Yeah. And if you're a libertarian and you're urgent about knowledge, like I know you are, you're probably a specialist within the libertarian community about something that other people don't know about as much. So if you're in a niche within a niche, then your knowledge differential is incredible. Use that to your advantage. Capitalize, capitalize and make money, profit, because no one's going to listen to us. No one has listened to us. People will only listen to you until you show them that it's profitable, and so keep profit seeking, right? That's our engine, right? That's the motor that moves us. Keep profit seeking, and there is no competition, and keep providing value. And I think in providing value is where we will be most protected, right? Moving forward, because people need someone like you, you that is listening. They need someone like you to talk to them, and to make them think. You need to plant those seeds, and really Awakening their minds, yeah. There are options now. They don't have to be enslaved to the same system anymore.
Oh, beautiful, yeah. This is, there's a lot of fear that people can get into in the world, and a lot of time, I try to dispute the fear and give you tools that you can use to make your life better and for you and your loved ones. And so, crypto is one of the great options for doing that. And I completely agree that don't think that it takes being a big person or putting a big splash out there to make a difference. You make a difference by just talking to your neighbors and getting them educated about these things. And so my next question was going to be for if you have like any tools maybe for the audience that they could go check out as far as decentralized exchanges are going. I know personally in the U.S. they've shut down a lot of the centralized exchanges for people, so maybe you could comment on ways to get around that and some good options that you see out there in the market right now.
Yes, decentralized exchanges are very important, right? And the decentralized exchange falls in line with the agorist approach, right? It's a system outside the system, right? Okay. Know that decentralized exchanges will become easier to use, and there will be more liquidity in them as time goes on. They exist. They're amazing. I like BISC. BISC is incredible. BISQ is our favorite decentralized exchange. PSA, alert. Pay attention to what I'm about to say, okay? On a decentralized exchange, never, ever buy anything that is not Monero. Again, don't ever buy anything that is not Monero. I'm going to repeat it one last time. Don't ever buy anything that is not Monero. Anyone that is selling a Bitcoin, anyone that's selling Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, or any other transparent cryptocurrency is more than likely selling a tainted coin on a decentralized exchange. Be very careful. I'm going to repeat this. Only buy Monero at a decentralized exchange. Never buy anything else but Monero at a decentralized exchange. Okay? Fungibility is important. Again, only buy Monero at a decentralized exchange.
Wait, what do you say, man?
Only buy Monero at a decentralized exchange.
Gotcha. Thank you. One more time.
Only buy Monero at a decentralized exchange. This should be a hashtag. Yeah, don't be that person. If you're going to, it's up to you if you want to risk buying Bitcoin or any other, or even Zcash, anything that is not Monero at a decentralized exchange. You're risking it. And if you're doing it, man, you better be making money off of that trade. Because you're getting something that is probably dirty. So, more than likely dirty. And blockchain analytics is no joke. That's no joke, guys. It could come from anywhere. A guy here next to us just said it could come from a hitman. Yeah, it can come from anywhere. Be careful. So money should be fungible. That's a property of money, and Monero is the most fungible of money, of cryptocurrencies. So, yeah. If you're not getting Monero from the ether, from the internet, then you're better off going through a KYC AML exchange. 100%. You know why? Because they've gone through the AML KYC process of the centralized exchange. So they've already, those are clean coins, right? So if you take a tainted coins into any KYC AML exchange, they would be like, oh, wait a minute, we can't take that from you, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so XMR.to or Monerujo or Cake Wallet, you're able to, if you're gonna make a payment in Bitcoin using Monero, you make the payment through a Monerujo wallet. Unfortunately, it's only available in Android. You make the payment, you send Monero, and then the merchant gets Bitcoin on their end, right? But that Bitcoin comes from an exchange. It's clean, right? So that's one. I like that a lot. I think that's a cool technology that we have. Monerujo is pretty cool.
Okay.
Also, Cake Wallet for iOS does that. And XMR.2 is the exchange that Cake Wallet and Monero use on the back end, which is XMR.2 BTC for the merchant. So that's a cool feature. So that way you can spend Monero wherever Monero is not accepted. But nowadays, here in Acapulco, I went to 3 different restaurants that took Monero's payment.
Really?
In the city, yeah. So if you guys go to 100% Natural, amazing restaurant here, highly recommended. They take Monero. Tony's takes Monero. Tony's is awesome. It's a very swank, like James Bond meets Monero-esque. Literally, it meets like the Monero-esque, like Art Deco mimetic vibe. Yeah, that place, Tony's. If you guys are ever in Acapulco, like, go to Tony's. They take Monero. 100% Natural is probably one of the best restaurants I've ever been to in my entire life. The food feels like it's healing you. It's the name says it. It's 100% natural. Yeah. It's incredible. And they take Monero. Okay. Actually, Monero Talk. I went with the Monero Talk couple there, and we took pictures and stuff. They might have it on their YouTube channel soon. Okay. Yeah, so provide value, use decentralized exchanges only for Monero, and yeah, be careful out there, but don't live in fear. Look at everyone like a potential client. They'll change. That's a good switch to make in your brain. Yeah, make that switch. Be paranoid like every libertarian should be, but I think a healthier approach is to flip the switch and just think like a capitalist, like really see everyone as a potential client of yours, I think that's a healthy approach.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was really happy to get to chat with you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on. And I was going to ask you where people can find more of your information that you put out. You do the Crypto Vigilante, and that's a paid service through the website. Is it through the Dollar Vigilante website?
Yeah. So the Crypto Vigilante is the newest venture of the Dollar Vigilante. It's a partnership amongst the crypto crew and the OG Dollar Vigilante crew. So think of the Dollar Vigilante as the more big picture approach of things. Jeff, Ed Bugos, Kashep, Luis, everyone in the team. They look at everything from they see the world in general. They take into account the stock market, the bond market, the Federal Reserve, the gold market, precious metals, mining stocks, all that good stuff. Crypto's so intense that we have a team dedicated just for that, and I'm part of that team. And so we focus on that because we don't have time to look at the other stuff that the Dollar Vigilante looks at. Crypto's so fast-paced that we're now moving into like having to deal with AI. So a lot of the research that we're starting to do is to take into account very extremely fast-paced technology. And so we're still at the point where we're still educating our audience, not just on crypto and trading, which is all that, making money, which is obviously our main goal. But I think there's a more important goal that we emphasize that I don't think other newsletters do, and it's to teach you guys applied cryptography, and operational security. And there's so much out there about this topic, but yet in real time, to have someone to tell you, hey, this is the best VPN right now, you can search them. We've vetted the whole space of VPNs. Out of all these, we like these 4 the best. but this one is the one that we think is like where the most safety is. You know, I think that's valuable. You know, I think it's valuable to you know, to have someone looking, you know, giving you feedback on your personal, yeah, exactly, your personal OPSEC, what best wallets to use for what, you know. So what I personally, we all care about giving our subscribers the best research possible so that they can make their choices in making, you know, as much profit as possible for them. But I think it's also important for them to be as secure as possible as they provide value to others. So it's a yin yang, right? You know, profit seeking while being secure. And it's something that we emphasize constantly, both aspects, because they're very valuable. And so, yeah. The main goal I mean, for me personally, if you're asking me, what's the thing you champion most about what you do, I think is I strive to make sure that I give as accurate and as simple to understand information so that you guys are as safe as possible. Cool. Right? That's, you know, money is good, but I think freedom is better. Right? Freedom and health, right? So yeah, I mean, another thing that we champion is critical thinking. The vast majority of the crypto space is an echo chamber. Everyone is very tribal. They all go, you know, everyone follows, you know. We don't want that. We don't like that. We don't want that. Mr. X completely disagrees with me. We fight all the time, and it's beautiful. He's a BTC. He sees things from the BTC worldview. I see things more from the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV worldview. And that's valuable. He watches my back. I watch his back. He sees things that I don't see, and I see things that he doesn't see. And guess what? Our subscribers get to see both perspectives. And that makes our subscribers that much more intelligent from the rest, because naturally, everyone, if they have a job, you know, if people are busy, even myself, you know, it's so easy to fall into an echo chamber. It's easy to fall into confirmation bias. But by having by having a diverse, you know, we're all libertarian, but by entertaining different ideas in making money, we're able to see things that other newsletters don't. I know that other newsletters don't. Like, for instance, we were the only financial newsletter in crypto, and actually in the world that I know of, that we did not buy into the whole Craig Wright bullshit. Yeah. Mr. X gave an excellent reason why. He gave all of the arguments. He broke them down for our subscribers as to why Craig Wright is a fraud, and you know, he broke it down, right? My perspective was, I need to look beyond him. Why is that? I think as a capitalist, you should be comfortable being alone, right? Capitalism is a lonely road, and if you're going to make profit, you should look at where everyone else tells you not to look at, right? If you're a capitalist, people are right now telling you, oh my God, Hong Kong, oh my God, it's instability. Maybe that's where you should be looking at. Because maybe prices are cheap right now. Maybe people are panic selling on good things for the future. Maybe China might be a good place to look at. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. People are scared at the coronavirus. Profit seeking is a lonely road, and if you find yourself with the socialist masses, you won't find profit. You'll find profit where no one else is looking. When people are selling, you're buying. When people are buying, you're selling, right? When you hear everyone in the crypto space panicking and talking, you know, and going after Craig Wright. Well, what is there? Let's really look at this. And I personally looked at not Craig Wright. I'm like, well, even if he was Satoshi, if he wasn't Satoshi, if he's a fraud, if he isn't a fraud, I don't care. I want to see what's behind the curtain. And I looked at it, and I'm like, okay, actually, there's something sustainable here. I see a bunch of objectivist Randians that want to play ball with the government, and they see government as their potential client. So I'm like, all right, I see what they're doing. I read Ayn Rand. I understand this mindset. These guys don't seem like I would agree with them, but I see what they're doing. And I don't think it's completely irrational. So we told our subscribers to, at the very least, hold one BSV for every BTC they own, as well as one Bitcoin Cash. And we saw a 925% increase in their portfolio, in their hedge of BSV. Our subscribers that held made great returns, and that's something that no one saw this past year. No one else saw in this crypto space this last year. But why is that? Because we are in an environment where we can think and we can argue and we have freedom of speech. You know, as long as you're respectful, everything's cool. You know, if you're disrespectful, someone will call you out, right? Yeah. Or if you're disrespectful, someone will call you out. But overall, you know, as long as you have a sound argument. See, my background is in philosophy, right? Okay. Winning an argument in my mind is not one where, oh, I gave someone a zinger, I feel good. No. For me, I take people's perspective into account fully. You know? My formal education is in philosophy. And I have a master's in philosophy. Okay. And I think that's, you know, I really became an anarchist there because I was rebellious. You know, I was like, I want to really learn not what to think, but how to think. Yeah. And so I value arguments a lot. And if you're going to come at me with an argument, you better be ready to really dissect every premise. Defend your argument very well, because I'm not going to let go easily. Yeah. And so the same arguments that thus far, my personal assessment is that the same arguments that can be made against, on an intrinsic level, that can be made against BSV are the same arguments that I personally can apply against BTC and Bitcoin Cash. Give me any argument, I'll give you a counter argument as to why it is. If it's not equally the same, it's analogically the same to some aspect to Bitcoin Cash or BTC. So, yeah, I if you were to ask me, and I think this is important, what my definition of Bitcoin is, I see Bitcoin from a fundamental perspective as a network of miners. Miners that are agnostic as to what chain will win. They're agnostic as to what chain they mine, because all they're seeking is to keep their company going. And so at this moment, thus far, BTC has been the most profitable chain to mine. Up to recently, it has ceased to be it, and at times, for long periods of time, Bitcoin SV has been more profitable for miners. Other times, Bitcoin Cash has been more profitable. But overall, if I'm a miner and I have a lot of money invested in SHA-256 miners, I would be happy for there to be people building alternate ways for me to monetize aside from the BTC worldview, game theory, and applied economics. Why not? The existence of Bitcoin Cash and BSV as a miner only hedges my future for me. Now I have options to monetize. Why not? Why would I prefer a monetization funnel to having options, market options competing for my business in the future? That's awesome. Yeah. So BSV and Bitcoin Cash are miners. They're the mindset that they are creating a more profitable future for Bitcoin miners by what they're creating, and that's just competition. So yeah, we still say if you hold one BTC, you know, make it we call it the Bitcoin index, right? Hold one one BSV and hold one Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, their ethos. I mean, let's not talk about Bitcoin Cash right now. That's a can of worms right now.
Yeah,
it's a can of worms right now because they're ANCAPs and half of them wanna. Well, they're all ANCAPs, right? And well, not all of them. A lot of them are Chinese people, and the Chinese contingent of Bitcoin Cash wants to instill a 12.5% tax. You didn't know that? Yeah. I read in the latest Crypto Vigilante, we talk about that. It's a mess right now. They're going through a civil war right now, and I think BTC. A lot of us are expecting a civil war within BTC regarding privacy in the future. So we don't know when that will happen, but it's or how that's going to manifest itself. We don't know if it's going to lead into a fork or not, but we know that there's contention there. BTC and Bitcoin Cash want their coins to be as private as possible, but that's like changing a tire while the car's moving, right? It's very difficult. Monero, on the other hand, was like, all right, we want there to be an amazing cryptocurrency, that functions as currency. So they said, you know what, let's start from scratch. And I think that was the smartest thing they could have done.
I agree.
So that's where we're at. So wherever someone tells you not to look, that's look. It's that's I think that's good. That's a good principle to live by, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Rafael, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come talk to me, and really great information from my audience. And if there's anywhere else where people can check you out, like a Twitter account or other social media where you like people to point people.
Yeah, so on Twitter, I personally, so this is everything that I spoke about with you guys today. It's kind of, it's my way of like educating. I like to contrast extremes, right? So you have on one hand the agorist coin, which is Monero. On the other hand, you have the other extreme, which is the objectivist coin, BSV, and they both fall within the spectrum of libertarianism in crypto, right? And something very important about both of these coins is that each one of them is a unified army, right? Like they're of the same mindset. They know exactly what they're doing. There's no contention, right? So Monero, it's like it's a unified army, uniform army of anarchists that are like, this is what we're doing, right? BSV, it's a unified army of objectivists. This is what we're doing, right? BTC right now, I can't say that they're a unified army. Of like, this is what we're doing. Bitcoin Cash, I don't see that unification. EOS, I don't see that, either with the whole block producer. Ethereum, I don't see a unified army there. Zcash, I don't see a unified army there. Kind of. But not really. Because there's some people I would want to make zero knowledge proofs default there, and others that like it the way it is. There's some people in Zcash that like the dev tax. Others don't like it. So with Monero and BSV, you have contrast, and as an investor, it's important to look at contrast, and it's important to entertain contrasting ideas. And it's important to be open to dialogue with people that disagree with you, because they could be potential clients, right? Yeah. If we want crypto to take over the world, you have to take into account we live in a world of 1 billion Muslims. They're not going to change their mind and become libertarian overnight. There's just no way. We live in a world with 1 billion communists, like hardcore communists. They're not going to change overnight. We have to price them out. We have to outcompete them in the market by providing them value. But guess what? Every Muslim in the planet walks around with a smartphone. Every communist in the planet walks around with a smartphone. It's through crypto. We talk about crypto anarchy all the time, but here with you, I'm going to dub a new term. You ready? Right. Crypto capitalism. Right. There you go. We need to emphasize capitalism. Yeah. Crypto anarcho capitalism is what we need to emphasize. Capitalism. We need We need to see everyone as a potential client, you know? That's what we need to do. So yes, crypto anarchy is good, but crypto anarcho-capitalism is better in my opinion. Because crypto anarchy opens the door to a lot of socialist mindsets. So we just dubbed that term here, Greg.
All right.
Crypto anarcho-capitalism. What do you want to call it? Crypto ancaps? Crypto capitalists? What do you want to call it? Help me figure out this term here. Come on.
And crypto anarcho-capitalism sounds good to me. I mean, yeah, it's just I've had this argument with several people as well. It's like it seems that people are afraid of sometimes of being able to make money, but through the ability to make money, then you can grow a project, you can grow an idea, you can provide even more value for the people around you. So
so I guess we dubbed the new term here. Yeah, Greg, what do you want to call it? You want to call it crypto anarcho-capitalism? It has to be a little more I mean,
yeah.
But you have to keep the word capitalism there, because you notice that a lot of people like the word voluntarism.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a cool term, but come on, like, if anything's going to change the world, is the power of the market.
Yeah.
Right? Not consent.
Right.
Consent is cool, but there's a lot of economic illiteracy, and there's a lot of people, even myself, I find myself thinking like a socialist about things that I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I thinking? Like I have to check myself sometimes. Socialism, Marxism is all around us. They're literally programming our mind and our subconscious mind at all times.
Yeah.
Right? So emphasize capitalism as much as possible. You know, we're anarcho-capitalists, right? So yeah, and if anything's going to change the world, it's capitalism, right? The Muslim walks around with the cell phone. The communist walks around with the cell phone. These guys are collectivists to the max, you know? So yeah, we need to emphasize capitalism.
Absolutely, because it's just the way that we grow, and it's the most natural order, in my opinion. Spontaneous order from people getting together that have similar interests and things that they're pursuing, and able to grow their capital to invest in new projects. So, yeah. Definitely look at it from the capitalist perspective. I love what you said there about...
It's the most important perspective.
Yeah.
There is no anarchy without capitalism.
Right.
There is no anarchy without capitalism. Like,
yeah.
If you don't have capitalism, you don't have progress that would lead for there to be the contingent applied economics of a sustainable anarchist environment. You have to have a sustainable anarchist environment, and the only way to achieve that is by capitalism.
There's no way.
Otherwise, you'll end up with a central planner or some version of it.
Yeah.
And last thing we want is to forever hold on to this notion of we need central planners for the sake of decentralization. It's an oxymoron. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But in crypto, we find that a lot. It's capitalism, guys. It's capitalism that we need to emphasize, right? And if you're not comfortable with capitalism, okay, that's cool. I would highly advise you to pick up Man, Economy, and State and read Rothbard. You know, really read Rothbard.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, these are all useful tools for us, and to be able to. You're not going to do anybody any good if your own house isn't in order. So, see how you can find value in the market and provide that value, and then be able to we're not going to be able to change the world if we're all broke.
No, you cannot. This is very important. Right. Let me give you one last thing. Why do people always fuck up? They fuck up because of fear. And when the future is uncertain, libertarians act in one of three ways. You will either find yourself acting as a gambler, which is just like, oh, I'll just, whatever, You would either act as an investor, right? or you will act as a engineer. In crypto, we find a lot of people that once they get scared of the future, they want to engineer the crypto. With the best of libertarian intentions, they still want to engineer the future of crypto. Like, no, dude, we know social engineering is bad. Stop it. You need to trust the market. And the only way for you to trust the market is by really learning Austrian economics. Yeah. Like, that's hands down, that's what you need. And again, you get X-ray when you understand praxeology, X-ray vision. You're able to see the future better than the rest. And you will and you'll be able to act like an investor. And the only thing that's getting in the way is us. It's really us and our ignorance of economics. That's the only thing that gets in the way. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure you study Austrian economics. You will have it's like superpowers literally in the market right now with crypto. You will have superpowers. If you do not understand praxeology, you will not be successful in crypto. I can guarantee that. Only if you understand praxeology will you be successful in crypto. Honestly.
Now, can you explain that term, praxeology?
It's the science of human action. Okay. Go on YouTube and type in Prax Girl, Prax Girl. Okay. Subscribe to her and watch all of her videos. Watch all of her videos on praxeology. Okay. That's the 101. They're like 20 to 30 videos. Watch them, learn it. Okay. It's the science of human action. It's a science that has been most oppressed throughout in modern times. It's the newest of sciences, and it's a science that they don't teach you at university because it will empower the hell out. It would empower the heck out of you as an individual. Yeah, you gotta learn praxeology. That's where it's at. You have to learn praxeology.
Awesome. So yeah, here's some great tools for you guys to get out there, and definitely some really great information shared by Rafael during this interview. I'll have all that information in the description of the podcast. And once again, Rafael, I'll give you the last word and anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah. Yeah, take time to learn praxeology and look at everyone as your potential customer.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll hopefully be able to stay in contact, and really appreciate you to sit down for the interview.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So that was the show today, and thank you so much for getting involved in the discussion here. And Inertia, thank you for your questions, and thank you everybody for hanging around with the show and listening to what Rafael has to say, listening to what I have to say for my experience at Anarchapulco. Everybody's saying, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's trying to click over towards Crimson Clad Show. But anyway, if you guys can't hear me, just thank you so much for hanging around for the show. I love you guys, and lots more information coming from all the connections I made from Anarchapulco. Like I said during the chat in the Discord chat there, Jose Rodriguez gave a really good talk about some new technologies there in the crypto space in order to get around the current banking system as far as loans go. And there's a really new product out there for that. And he also runs one of the biggest crypto conferences in Latin America that's happening in Guadalajara, Mexico, coming up. So I'm going to try to get him on, and then I will try to get Rafael back on. And Acapulco, Mexico is just a really beautiful place, and I encourage anyone that is looking to, if you're looking to go to a spot to get away for a little while, to go check out Acapulco, Mexico. Or if you want to go to Anarchapulco next year, I think they're going to completely change the way the conference is run. They're going to offer cheaper options. There's going to be possibly places to go camping and stuff like that around Acapulco. So if you want to go, let me know, because I'm definitely planning on going back next year to go check it out and to interact with all the lovely people I met there and stay in contact with them and start to really interact with the community of people that are living down there right now. So yeah, guys, stay tuned to Crimson Clad Show and Steamwave Saturday. There's a lot to talk about, especially what's going on with Steemit right now. And so I look forward to learning what all's going down in the space right now, and to get caught back up, because I was kind of away from everything for about 8 days there. So looking to see what's happening there. And so stay tuned for Crimson Clad Show. Thank you, everybody, for joining me this week on Meadows and Makers Podcast. And I'll see you guys next week with some more great content. So thank you, and we'll catch you guys later. So peace, everybody. And I'm just gonna let it roll until the end of the show here. And I think I'm coming up on the very end. And let's see. I just thank you so much and love you guys. So thank you again. And we'll catch you guys next time. All right, bye. All right. Wicked. All right, guys. Yeah, I think there's probably a minute left or so. So I'm just going to kind of keep rambling. But yeah, Anarchapulco. Loved it. And it's really happy to be able to provide this content for you guys and be able to get this information out there. And stay tuned to the blog and on Make It Stuff on Steemit. And we'll get into all that. So check you later.